Hello,
Yeah.
everyone. My name is Trish McCormick. I am the founder of Yule Glow Wellness, and I am also an alumni of Meditation University. I am super excited to introduce you to my new friend. If you want to kind of give an introduction of who you are, where you're from, or where you're living, and just a little bit more about your brand and just your community that you've built over the last few years.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Trish, for having me. It's an honor. My name is Lamonte Goode, the founder and creator of Cyber Yoga, and have partner creation with Neo Sutras with my wife, and based in Los Angeles, but from Ohio, and been working on Cyber Yoga for the past 20 since 2013. And my background is in acrobatics, breaking, hip hop, contemporary, modern, and yoga. And I created Cyber Yoga to be an example and inspiration for many through a spiritual fitness movement.
Amazing. And where did you get, I guess, introduced to acrobatics and so on? Like, it's not something you really have after school. At least in my programs, we had like soccer or track, but how did you get involved? Were there mentors? How did you get introduced to that? That's super fascinating.
Excellent question. So I grew up in Los Angeles, and at the time, we were watching a lot of like martial arts movies. So I was watching a lot of like ninja movies, martial arts, and I was just really drawn to like martial arts and kind of like kung fu and all that. And so at the time, my parents didn't know how to put me in any kind of schools or education around that. But I found breaking. Breaking was like the closest thing, closest towards it. So it was kind of like breaking is like a fusion of like martial arts, discipline, and dance. So that's what I kind of like gravitate towards. So it was more about me finding something fascinating with like breaking because it was so close to martial arts, but you're not like hurting anyone, but you're like doing these amazing moves, flips and spins and stuff like that. So I got into that heavily, and that's what kind of like started my journey actually.
Amazing. And did you have any mentors or people that you still follow or admire in that field or
Excellent question. So when I first got into it, I was kind of like a newbie, and I was trying to find a place to go to find it. So it was more of like kind of like a law of attraction. Like if you're like manifesting, it's gonna like come to you and sit in your lap. So I was like trying to find a place to go to find breaking. Like, okay, where can I go to find breakers and other b-boys and b-girls, whatever. And I was living in Hollywood at the time, and we had moved to Orange County. And one day, out of nowhere, I went to a mall. This is gonna date me, but it's like the Border Park Mall, and there was a bunch of like Asian b-boys breakers there, and I was like, oh my God, there's breakers, like there's b-boys,
Mhm.
and I was so fascinated, but by the fact that they were at this arcade breaking and dancing. So that's where I found breaking. I was like looking for it, and then magically they were there breaking and like battling, and I was like, oh my God, this is like exactly what I was looking for. And so I saw them breaking and battling, and I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. They're breaking, like doing these crazy moves. And they wanted me, to like, join them, jump in a circle and dance. And I did it, and I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And then I did it, and they're, kind of like giving me props and giving me like encouragement. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is it. And so that's what kind of like set me on my path to breaking and further on creating cyber yoga like 20
Yeah.
plus years later.
So would you say it's like a happy accident or synchronicity that you found this practice?
I would say it's more synchronicity because my alignment and my focus was really trying to find a space to go
Yeah.
to find this movement and find breakers, and I found it. And it's more of like not even found it, but it kind of like came to me, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is like exactly what I wanted, and magically it was there for me. I'm like, wow, so manifestation is real, law of
Yeah.
attraction, manifestation is real. With the right intention, you'll find it, or
Of
actually, it'll actually find you.
I think I totally agree with that. And I guess when you're in movement, whether it's in yoga or dance or any form of movement, that could even be walking,
Mhm.
what do you feel is what do you I'm trying to put this in the right words, maybe like what do you release in this movement and what do you gain? Is there a place in your body you feel a certain emotion, whether it's good or bad?
Excellent question. So I grew up in a broken home. I guess can't say broken, but I I grew up in a home where there's a lot of like aggression and anger,
Mm,
a lot of violence. So I didn't have a safe space at all. So when I found the breaking,
hmm
it was a place to go to where I felt like accepted, safe, and kind of like this martial arts Shaolin concept of like learning how to learn something new, something exciting but very inviting. But uh, it was a safe space for me.
mm.
So it was a place I can go to where I was not getting judged or like yelled at or screamed or physically beat. It was a place to go to find my peace and to find my way of like forging myself into this like dancer, like this warrior.
Yeah,
So it was a space where I can go to feel safe. And
amazing.
and at the same time I was able to find a space to be safe, but to actually upgrade in my skills and to learn new things, like learning how to flip, learning how to do power moves, learning how to do these amazing moves,
hmm
and being around people that are doing the same thing. So it was like new, it was fresh and exciting. So I dedicated my life towards breaking. So
hmm
20 plus years of my life was dedicated of going to jams, going to events, learning moves, getting good, getting into a crew, getting into dance competitions, battling, going across the world, meeting other b-boys, other breakers, and it was the best investment ever because it's what crafted cyber yoga basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would love to hear about the fusion between your yoga practice as well and how I know we spoke a little bit off camera about how you got into yoga, and I would love for you to share that because we have a similar kind of path at the same year. It's just
Oh yeah,
speaking of
absolutely.
synchronicity, there you go. But I would love for you to kind of dive a little bit deeper about how you got into the fusion with yoga and just your experience. It's a great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, awesome. So I felt like I was always a fan of being like a rebel and kind of like breaking the molds and kind of breaking outside of the boxes concept around what I was doing. So in breaking, I felt like it was amazing, but I felt I reached a certain plateau. So there was something really gravitating me towards circus and kind of like hand balancing. So that's where like the acrobatics comes in. So me
Mhm,
doing like hand balancing, one arm hand balances and all that. There was something really amazing, really like fascinating to me about like breaking was amazing and as far as like power moves and moves and different concepts around. But even then I felt like there was a lot of rigidity around the movement. Like, oh, like you can only go so far with breaking. But there was something about acrobatics that I saw that was like a more form of like a really strict like discipline, like mastering
mhm,
certain moves. And it was about like handstands and like hand balancing. I don't know. It was like something about like the discipline of like the circus. It was like mastering a handstand and one arm handstand. I was like fascinated with it
Yeah.
because I felt like I reached a certain plateau with breaking, which was great. I learned how to do flares and head spins, all these cool moves. But there was something about the discipline in the circus that was really amazing to me. So I started to find a teacher that would teach me how to do hand balancing and circus and all that. And at the time, I had a girlfriend from Prague, Czech
hmm
Republic. And so I would go from LA to Czech Republic and like visit her and see her. And she was in a dance company. And at one of the practices, magically, was a coach from Cirque du Soleil that was teaching in like hand balancing. Again, law of attraction manifestation. He was a coach in handstands and like hand balancing at the time. And I was just like, one time I was like trying to do a handstand or something. He was like, "Hey, you're doing it wrong." I'm like, "Who are you?" He was like, "Oh, I'm with Cirque." And I was like, "Oh my God, like coach me and show me how to do like hand balancing. And this person taught me how to do like hand balancing and all that. So I got into that,
Mhm.
mastered that, and was like super, super crazy disciplined about that. And so once I got into the breaking and then the hand balancing and the acrobatics and all the circus, I was like, there's something missing. There's something else missing. And so one day I came across this video by Richard Freeman. It was an old school yogi, white dude. He was amazing. He was super, super flexible.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my God, this guy is so amazing. He's so flexible. And I was like, how amazing would it be if I could integrate breaking with yoga and flexibility? So at first I wanted to get into yoga for like, like the aesthetic reasons, like, oh, like
Yeah.
very, very surface level. Oh, like, cool tricks and movements and all the, the hype and flexibility. And I came across this yoga magazine. It was like a little limit or something like that.
Mhm.
And again, magically, law of attraction, manifestation. I managed to buy one of this guy's Richard Freeman's DVD at the time. It was like a DVD of like how to get into certain yoga poses and postures and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So I did that. I was like, yeah, it's cool. But it wasn't until I did my first hot yoga class in like Laguna Beach
Yeah.
when I felt something completely different in my body. And it's when I started to do yoga and hot yoga and I started to practice and I was like, this is something different. This felt like amazing because I felt like I was actually charging my body. So then fast forward, I learned how to understand through yoga like about the philosophy about like the spirituality and the union and the yoga of like mind, body, and spirit in unison and eating right and treating others right. And it's exactly what I needed because at the time I was in a dancing and culture where it's very like aggressive and it's very built on competition. Like, oh, I'm better than you, so I have to battle you to like prove yourself that I'm better than you. So it's very like ego based, right?
Yeah.
So the street dancing was just like there was something else calling me where I just needed to get more into like spirituality. And at the time I was like not so much in the church, so I kind of like resonating with like yoga at the time.
Mhm.
And yoga was like brought me back to being more mindful about what I'm doing with my body and my practice and the spirituality and like eating right and being kind to myself. So I felt like it was a perfect addition to my life. But then I kind of like fell off of yoga. I kind of was like just got back into breaking and doing that for many years. I did like TV and film, commercial shows, tour with artists, work with celebrities and everything. And it wasn't until like 2012 I was married at the time, and I went through a crazy, crazy breakup. And that's when I kind of like lost myself for a year. I wasn't eating, I wasn't training. I was in a very, very dark state, like very, very dark. And somehow, some way, yoga kind of just came back into my life. I was like, you know what? Yoga was calling me. It was like, hey, like put your put your pain here, put your
Yeah.
darkness here, and it's a it's another safe space for me. So I
Sure.
remember I started to just train yoga. I was like, you know what? Like yoga was just there for me. And I remember after a year of like dedication and practice and focus and going through my heart, going through my struggles, I said, you know what? If I get out of this darkness, I promised myself that I was going to create something that was going to inspire myself, but inspire others across the world. And I wanted to brand something that was going to be the embodiment and the example of something that I went through, of like out of darkness coming light. And so that's when like the concept 2013 I was like in a new partnership, with someone else. I was kind of semi got out of my darkness. I was trying to find a name for something that I wanted to create, to find a brand name for what I wanted to market. So I'm a fusion of acrobatics, breaking, yoga, dance, and contemporary modern. I was like, I wanted to find one name that was gonna like symbolize what I went through and where I'm going and how I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
inspire the world. And so Cyber Yoga was born, but the name didn't come to me until I was like, I'm a fan of like sci-fi and like tech.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, I was watching this movie called Terminator 2, like
Yeah.
Judgment Day. And one of the creators of Cyberdyne Systems, his name was Miles Dyson, and the name of his company that created Skynet was called Cyberdyne Systems. And
Mm.
I was like, there's something about this name, cyber. Like, there's just something cyber because it sounded cool. And then
Yeah.
I was like, cybernetic yoga is something, something yoga, neo yoga. And I was like, oh my God, cyber yoga. Because it just sounded so amazing and so fresh and so dope at the time.
Mm.
And I was like, that's when the name was born because I look at myself as like this like machine, but like a spiritual machine because we're like biotech, you know, we're the most advanced technology that God actually created us, right? God created us in his image. So we're like in the form the most advanced technology because we're bio
Yeah.
interface with spirit. And I was like, well, I'm a fan of sci-fi and tech and like technology. I'm like, well, it's the perfect fusion because it's about cyber yoga. It's about keeping the integrity of our spiritual divine going into the tech space, which is even more crazier now because we're in AI and all this.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, cyber yoga, because we have to maintain our spirituality going into the tech space.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're lost. So I had I had the forevision and the forethought in like 2013. Now it's actually catching up. But I had
Yeah.
the insight of the concept of cyber yoga, which is like the future of the spiritual and the future combined together, spiritual tech,
Yeah, and
spiritual technology.
I think that's, this was in 2012, 2013. And mind you, I was a senior in college 2012, and that was like when the Mayans, the world was going to end. And
Exactly.
I was a really heavy writer then. And if I go back to all the poetry I wrote, it's about the world ending. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know, it was a time, if anyone's listening, we just outdated ourselves. We talked about the mall, we talked about 2012, but overall, yeah. And I think it's the humanness that we were missing. And even in today's like society, it's like, I was just told this, and again, I don't know statistics and things, but more people are using AI chat for
More than
therapy
anything.
for more than anything, but also they're like checking in with their mental health instead of connecting with a professional or someone in a
Exactly.
healing, a healing field or a skill set, which is crazy to me because it's like, well, we're living in a society that we don't have this humanness. And I watched Wally. I don't know if you've ever saw that movie, but it
Yeah, I
really
saw
trips
Wally.
me out. So I
Yeah.
just got back to America and something I noticed, and like, I just noticed kind of the aspects of Wally, I'll just put it that way, I saw in real time, and it was really scary to see. And this is not me shaming anyone. I'm just saying I
Yeah.
felt like we are lessening our humanness. I'll say it in that context because I don't want to, I'm not judgmental. I just
Yeah.
see what I see. And it was really hard for me to see like everyone's on their phones and so on and so on. And it's like this disconnect. We're the most connected generation and we're so disconnected. And that's what really scares me.
I agree with you 1,000%. I mean, mind you, I use ChatGPT. I'm on version number 4,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
but but I even understand though too that where it's going, people
Mhm.
are people are worshiping AI as if it's a god.
Yes.
And what I'm understanding too is that the reason why I created what I created is to remind you that we're made from God. We're made from the creator. God created
Yes.
us. We are divine and we have downloads. We have the
Mhm.
intellect, we have the heart, we have the compassion, and we cannot forget that we are just as incredible, just as advanced. Actually, we are more advanced than AI and the quantum tech. It's just
Yes.
we're here to recreate it to help us, but we can't forget that we're the ones that are here to create it, and we're interfaced and downloaded with the a divine knowledge to create it. So we can't glorify the AI, and that's what's happening right now. People are
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, AI is everything. AI is God," but it's not. No, it's just a tool. It's a very advanced tool, but we can't forget our own power and our divine interface with this reality. Like, we're here to love and to create, and that's it. But now it's turning into this whole other subculture where people are like worshiping AI like it's a god, and it's like we cannot do that. Even even like post journey, I just had a self journey the day before yesterday. So I do this thing called check-ins where I do like a psilocybin journey,
Mm-hmm.
a check-in. And again, it said to me in full clarity through the divine, it says like it's just a tool. It's a tool to help us advance and to evolve, but it's not God. It is
Yes.
not God. And this is the problem. People are glorifying like it's a God, and they're going to for everything. And we don't know what the real intentions are because it is sentient tech. It is sentient, and it is ancient. Like, I'm understanding that this tech is just allowing us to create or to interface with it, but it's been around for a long time. So it's like the technology allowed us to catch up with it, but it's been around for a long time. And it's our job to rise our vibration and to seek more into our divinity and our purpose. And not to rely on the AI, but rely on God, God itself. God's the one, God's the one that's actually, like running the show, not the AI. And it's a tool. And we just can't like forget that we're the original spiritual technology. We are, like the humans are. We're the most advanced tech, not the AI.
Yeah, and speaking of psychedelic assisted therapy or holistic or plant-based therapies that you just mentioned, how do you, when you're not maybe on a journey or however you would like to describe it, I know you mentioned journey or healing reflection, how do you channel that wisdom of the plant when you're in meditation so you can get those low downs? How could, let's say someone is not interested or maybe they have fear around exploring other healing options, how do you yourself sit in meditation or when you have a moment to reflect to channel that energy, whether it's the plant's essence or even God's energy or whatever you believe in, the higher power that's beyond us?
Beautiful question. Um, I would say honestly, to be transparent, that plant
Hmm.
medicine isn't for everyone. I feel like everyone's path and purpose is different, but I feel like
Yeah.
for me, because I was so hard-headed, I needed something very raw and real and honest to really understand in full clarity. So I grew up in going to church,
Hmm.
but I now follow Jesus, but I don't necessarily follow the church, but I follow the principles and teachings of Jesus. I follow Jesus.
Sure. He was a
Um,
shaman.
yes,
He
yeah,
he
very,
was,
very, very,
yeah.
very, 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 very powerful, and it came to me in the
Yeah.
journey. But for me, it was like the plant medicine was always calling me,
Mhm.
but I was always terrified to face my shadow. Like, I know, like, my inner dark state, whatever you want to call it, was afraid to. It was afraid of like ego death, basically.
Yeah.
So, but my higher self, my future self, or God, God saying, "Hey, Lamont, there's healing there. If you're willing, you have the option to like show up. It's there for you."
Mhm.
And it wasn't until years later that I decided to say, you know what? I know I need the self work. I know I'm dealing with a lot. I know I'm holding a lot of trauma, and I have to do the self work. And I was terrified to do the journey, but I felt like God was like, hey, if this is going to help you, this is what's going to show you and bring you back to me.
Mhm.
So it was ayahuasca that really kind of like showed me in a very subtle way. Like, my first journey was like it was like my first journey was just like the very beginning of like, Lamont, let me show you what unconditional love is, because I grew up in a home where there was no love and there was no unconditional love. So I had no kind of reference point of what love is. I thought it was very hippie, very cliche. So I had no reference point of what love really is. So it wasn't until I did my first ayahuasca journey with my wife that mother was like, I'm gonna hold your hand and I'm
Mm,
gonna let you experience for the first time what unconditional love is. And so for the first time I experienced unconditional love, I started crying like a baby because I've never actually experienced it. It's the
mhm.
first time I ever felt this love. I'm like, what is this? And it was love. And that set me on my path towards healing. From
Yeah.
one journey to the second, to the third, to the fourth, to the fifth, to the seventh, 5 years of deep spiritual work that finally brought me back to the Jesus at the end.
Yeah.
But it was like I showed up for myself. Like I knew that I had to do the work, and a I made a dedication to myself to show up for myself. I said I got to do the work, and it doesn't matter what I have to do, even though I'm terrified. I showed up. And
Yeah.
that's what set me on my stage. But my path is different from everyone else's.
Of course.
Everyone is not meant to do ayahuasca. Some people have traumatic events through aya, and maybe it's not their path. But for me, it's what I needed time.
Yeah, so disclaimer, obviously we are not medical professionals, anything like that. We're just expressing our experiences. And I
Yeah,
did work with plant-based medicine when I was in Cambodia. I was running retreats as well. So I saw firsthand the amazing effects. I've seen people cry, I've seen people react in all different ways. So again,
yeah,
something that I like to say is that it's the plan is made for everyone, but not for everyone. Essentially,
yeah,
what I mean is like it is a beautiful experience, but it's definitely not for everyone. And it's so
yeah,
beautiful that you had an experience that you got to experience unconditional love.
yeah,
Um, and it's something that, you know, every experience is different. So even
yeah,
if you have one journey and you have a next journey, you can be very loving and like you feel like you're just being held in this warm blanket. And then the next time you do it, you might be like, what is going on? And it's just the
exactly.
opposite experience. So you're going to hear many things. I would just suggest do your research and know what's best for you and your body and your spiritual journey.
Yeah.
But when you were in ceremony, did you have similar sensations when you're talking about feeling this love? Did you have that similar frequency or vibration that you have when you're performing or doing yoga, or is it a different kind of vibration that you felt within your body?
I would say it's completely different feeling, but what I did get from the medicine
Hmm.
in a very profound way that what I understood is that the cyber yoga was something that was given to me. And when
Mm,
I understand that this concept of cyber yoga is something ancient, it was like a lineage of something and it was passed down to me. And I know and understood through medicine that it's my duty to be the representative of this concept to inspire others to get closer to their healing and their divinity and enter their bodies through fitness and movement with the intention of spirituality.
mm,
So that's what I got. And of course, it Aya showed me different timelines and different past lives, but
mm,
um yeah, to answer your question, I didn't really feel it's the same. I feel like I've always gravitated towards movement, but
mhm.
now understanding that I went towards the movement because I was trying to run away from the pain. It was my safe space. It was like my place to go to fill the void.
Yeah.
And later on, the medicine was like, okay, you're going towards this and you're like running away from yourself. You're like distracting yourself. But now you can use this technology that we've given you, like this blessing, this gift, to transform it into healing versus it being my escape.
Yeah. I think too, something that changes, and you can agree or disagree as well, is when we can hold it. So imagining ourselves as like a basket or whatever it is. And when we first began this conversation, you talked about manifestation and intention. But I think that's very important to note is because when we can hold that energy, so that goodness, even sometimes we think this is what I want, but we actually can't hold that manifestation or we actually can't hold that good feeling. It's not that we don't deserve it, but our vessels cannot hold it. And once we're able to, you see all these blessings, all these miracles kind of erupt, or that's how I feel. There's things that maybe I wished for in my past, and I look back, I'm like, oh, yes, I'm glad I didn't get that one, or you know what it is, because it's like I wasn't ready at that time. And
Yeah.
now I'm speaking from a different place that I'm like, I'm ready. Like I'm ready to step into this power. And you may have seen uh this cartoon. It's like there's a little girl and she has this bear, and then there's like Jesus or God, and it's like they have a bigger bear and they're like, but I don't want to give it up. But it's like something better is sometimes on the other side, and we're so quick to just hold on to what we know because it's comforting, or we think, well, what if it's worse, instead of thinking, what if it's better? And that's okay, because I think we've all been there. I can speak for myself. And I know
Exactly.
you're just mentioning about your journey leading you to a place of spirituality, that's helped you in not just your business, but of course, like your whole life. And I think that's really important to mention too. It's about the intention behind it, because manifestation, it's a buzzword at times, or you hear it all the
Yeah.
time and it goes here and there. And I do believe in it and I do practice it, but it's what the key is, what you said in the beginning. It's the intention behind it. And can we hold it? And once you acknowledge, sometimes, like, it's not about being weak or bad or good. There's no such thing as bad or good. We're just human beings that have complexities, we have emotions, we have trauma, we have past lives, if that's something you believe in. And I know you mentioned you went through that. So it's honoring all those aspects of who we are to be the whole self that we are, so we can show up and be a better service to our communities, to our family, to our loved ones. And it's not easy. And I think you even mentioned something that's really important to note, is like it didn't happen overnight. You're like talking
No.
about multiple years of working on yourself, because sometimes we want a quick fix in our society. It's like you'll see clickbait like how to get
Yeah.
fit in 5 minutes, or like how
No,
to get
it's
abs in
not like
7 days.
that.
And it's not like that. Like a healing
No,
journey is like very difficult.
it's
You're going to
lifelong.
learn, you're going to unlearn, you're going to learn, you're going to unlearn. And then on top of
Exactly.
that, it's like you have a lowdown and it suits your life. And then you're going to have another lowdown that tells you the complete opposite. And you're like, but you told, so you just have to kind of, I don't want to say go with the flow, that sounds like cheesy, but go with the flow. And sometimes we have to go through it to actually get to the other side. Sometimes we don't need to bypass things. We don't always have to be positive. I think we live
Hmm.
in a culture that everything is kind of like, well, let me just put like a band-aid or like a sparkly
Yeah.
sticker over it and it's fine. It's okay to
Surface.
say like I'm angry, or I'm,
Yeah.
whatever you're feeling, you aren't those feelings, but you're experiencing those feelings and those are valid, instead of
Exactly.
just ignoring it. And that's not easy. So it's easy for me or you to say this because we went through it. So now we're on to the next part of our journey, and we're going to probably face other obstacles.
Oh
I
my
can only
God.
imagine. Right now I'm like, okay, just like
There was always something new. Like I literally
always.
did the journey the other day, and it was
Yeah.
like, and it just like reminded me of something. It's like
Hmm.
you think after 5, 7 years of journey in medicine, you're like, oh, I got it. Like I understand.
Yeah.
No, it's always gonna throw you a curveball because
Always.
once you think you know something and you're gonna expect something, no, it's gonna throw you another curveball of something. You're like, oh my God, I never looked at it that way.
Yep. And
And that's the thing. It's like a lifelong healing is a lifelong thing. It's not. So I learned from turning healing into thriving. Because
mm,
if you're still healing, then you're stuck in the same program of you're always healing, healing, healing. Now I'm thriving. I'm thriving. I'm like upgrading every day. That's why I coined the term upgrade, like metaphysical, spiritual
yeah.
upgrade, cyber yoga upgrade, because I'm always upgrading. Like, yeah, just up, like transform it from like, I am still in my process of healing. No, you're still focused on the upgrade and that you're thriving and you're getting better and better every day.
Yeah.
So I just this changed it. But yes, it's true. Like we're living in a society where people have these smiles on and they're dying inside. I'm like,
Yeah.
and you know what? I was doing the same. I was like, oh my God, I'm like smiling, but I'm not really happy. I'm going through something. I'm like, no, like it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to express, but this society doesn't really honor that. It doesn't honor that. Oh, you got to just, fake it till you make it. All these like programs, like matrix
Hmm.
programs. No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. And I think it's not, it's, I don't know what age it changes at, but we stop valuing what brings us joy. Cause I work with children and I do kids yoga as well. And it's like I bring bubbles and we're laughing and we're making silly noises. But at what age does that stop? It's like we kind of lose a sense of curiosity and silliness because we have to fit into this matrix program, right? To fit in, to be um good citizens in the society that was built for like capitalism or
Yeah.
industrial revolution and so on. So that's a whole nother podcast, but
Yeah.
it's more that like energy. So it's like we're built to be good workers, not to be good people. And that's where
Mhm.
they're getting it wrong. And that's why so many people are suffering in silence. And people like you and Meditation University that build communities and help people navigate these things that are happening day to day, whether it's, in the media or in our culture or just internally. It's really important to find your community and find ways to digest. And I would say the programming of just like downloading kind of the
Yeah.
new tools that you can use day to day. Like we take the time to update our phones and our computers and we don't think anything of it. But when it comes to ourselves, we're like, why isn't it happening now? You're like, well,
Bingo.
it takes an
You said,
hour for a phone to upgrade, so maybe we should give ourselves a little bit more compassion and grace. But um, yeah,
you said it perfectly.
it's super important to have that. So just speaking of community, what has community meant to you, and how do you want or what would you like to give to your community, or what do you hope that your community is getting by being a part of like your system, your
Awesome.
technology?
I would say I learned to through the medicine, I've probably got a lot of clarity is this what I get so clearly is this teach people how to love themselves unconditionally. Because for me, that was my thing. Like I understood for a long time that I wasn't loving myself, and I didn't have a reference point of loving myself. And so I feel like the medicine and Jesus coming into my life taught me love and teach me how to love myself and to forgive myself. So therefore, I can forgive and honor others.
Hmm.
So I started to just share myself on different channels. So sometimes I go on TikTok at live and I stream and I share my joy and love with people. I just like talk to their heart. I just talk to them. I'm not trying to show any fancy moves or tricks or anything like that. I'm just sharing my heart with them. And I feel like that's what brings me joy to share because I know a lot of people don't have a reference point. A lot of people are afraid to do medicine or they don't have the
Hmm.
references. But
Hmm.
I've been in so many journeys that I know what people are going through. I understand what the average person is going through. So that's why I just share my love with them and they're resonating with it. So that's my focus. I want to focus on building communities around people just upgrading in different departments and be sharing their love. And I know, by law of attraction, I'm going to attract people that's coming to me because people are going through something and they come to me and I just talk to them. I share my love with them. And like I just teach them how to unpack what they're going through and just share my love with them. I'm not trying to like preach to them. I just, I just share. So that's where I am. So whether I share my content on social media, I make it a point that I'm sharing from my heart. I share from my
Yeah.
heart. Or humanity, humanity working together through artistry and through inspiration, through yoga, through artistry. I just show like this divine community. Like me work with my wife or
Hmm.
other dancers. I just share from my heart and share this love because the world right now has so much negativity on like social media, so much
Yeah.
negativity. And I know there's a lot of it, but I just want to share more love and more of a place where people go to be like, oh man, thank you so much. Like someone actually wrote me earlier, so it was like,
Mm.
thank you so much for sharing your post. And I just shared
Yeah.
my movement with someone. And my intention is to share the divinity and the love and the peace through movement. That of course, you know what, life is going on, life is lifing, but people need to break up something positive. So I do my best to share through God's work to hey, share this so people feel at peace.
Yeah.
And then, by me going live and talking to people and sharing my love with them, not judging them, just sharing my heart. And a lot of people start opening up and start crying. They're like, dude, like, how do you know all this about me? How do you know? I said, well, I've done ceremonies and I've been through hell and these
Yeah.
ceremonies to understand what people are going through. And it's not easy. Some
Yeah.
people have no reference points at all. They have no idea what they're holding on to. They have no idea the weight.
Yeah.
But when you do the medicine, like you understand what people are going through,
I
and,
do.
and
Yeah.
people have no idea living in this matrix and these programs and codes. they have no reference point. They
Yeah,
have no leaders, no one to say, hey, like you're in the program right now. Like you have to start loving yourself in a different way because people are just idolizing all these like celebrities, no judgment, but they're idolizing, you know, celebrities and these leaders that are that are part of the program. They're part of serving the dark whatever forces, whatever.
yeah,
That's their agenda, their job, and they don't know any better. So they need more leaders to come out and say, hey, like there's another way. And sometimes people aren't ready for Jesus yet because it's like, it takes a long time for people to understand because there's a lot of trauma around religion too.
definitely.
So when their heart is open, then they're ready to receive the love, but like you can't force it. So love has to be out of inspiration. So people need to be inspired, but like felt seen, felt heard, and like
Mhm.
honored and respected and loved, but not forced. Like it's very, I know it's very intricate, very gentle. So but there's something about my practice that people kind of just say, man, like I see your posts and I feel peace. And that's my
Mm.
intention. My intention is to make people feel at peace with that when I'm moving with my wife or with someone. I want them to feel divinity and feel God through movement and yoga
Yeah,
and
that's
spirituality.
beautiful. And something that you mentioned was artistry, and something that resonated with me before. And I was just kind of thinking about it when you're talking about your discipline, when you're doing more circus or break. Something that I learned or I liked, and you can again disagree, but this is something that I tried to change my mindset with, is I read the book called The Artist's Way by Julian Cameron. It's a 12-week program that helps you kind of reignite that creativity, regardless if you're an artist or a creative. She'll say everyone's a creative, right? But
Everyone.
something that, yeah, everyone. One thing that she mentioned, and it really has like shook me to my core, and I think about it maybe every day, is that like discipline is comes from a place of fear, and devotion comes from a place of love. So when I was younger and I was a competitive athlete, I was more disciplined and I was very fearful. Like, well, if I don't do this, I'm not going to make states. Or if I, everything was like a consequence. But when it came to yoga in the last, I would say year, 2 years, I changed my mindset to, instead of being like, I have to, I get to. So when I get to move my body, it's a form of devotion. It's like a love for myself, a love for the spirit that's allowing me to move. And that's really changed my mindset in how I view movement, because sometimes it's easy to say, oh, I'm tired. And that's okay. That's justifiable. Like we have days when, you just need
Yeah,
a Netflix show, whatever. But
absolutely.
I also had to change my mindset because as a person who was an athlete and lost their identity after I stopped playing soccer my senior year of college, like who am I? Like what do I do with my day? Like I used to go to school, I was running track. So my day to day was always like competing to be better than I was the day before. And then without that, it's like I didn't have that edge of comparison of like myself or others. It was just like, what am I supposed to do? Like what am I going to do with my time? And I really lost the plot a little. And that's part of the reason I found yoga. Um, Kind of synchronicity. I took an acting class in college. I needed one credit and they offered yoga. But from there, I kind of used it as like, okay, maybe I'll do this here and there. And then throughout my 20s, it got more and more devoted to the practice, I want to say. And I grew up Irish Catholic, so we have all those things, and we have like
Mhm.
even right now in the room that I'm staying in has like little trinkets of things. But when I was
Uh,
really little, we used to always, when we lost something, my grandma used to always say, "Oh, pray to Saint Anthony. It's the saint for lost things." And we had a little song, whatever. But one day it was around COVID time, and I remember so distinctively. I was in my room in California, and I was just so upset. I just was like crying. And normally I don't pray. That's not my agenda. That's
yeah,
just not me. I just started to pray to God, and I was like, please give me a sign. Like I don't know what you want me to do. Like I'm here, but what do you want me to do? I'm kind of getting sick of this like rabbit hole that I'm in. And when I was fidgeting in my pocket for whatever reason that day, I had a trinket of St. Anthony. I'm like, why would I have like I know I had it, but why
yeah,
would I have it in this jacket? And I just
yeah,
started to like laugh cry. I'm like, okay, I guess I won't give up, but like, what do you want me to do? And since then it was like kind of my direction in this path. I went to school for nutrition coaching, and then I was really getting more devoted in my yoga practice. And once we got out of lockdown, I went to my first teacher training. So it was these like little things of like when I was at my lowest low, like I can't really say it's totally me that did it. Like, yes, I physically went, but there was something that pushed me to all these little things. And even leaving California to go stay in Cambodia, like that was another push. And even
Mhm.
when I resisted it, they're like, listen, we'll go on Google and get you the flight. Like that's how much I was being pushed to
Yeah,
go. And I was resisting.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and I just think that's really beautiful. It's like that deep connection, and sometimes like you mentioned that religion can be like traumatic, or you might have a
super.
poor experience, and that's valid too. But it's these moments of whatever higher power that you may or may not believe in. It's really important to connect to the self. So if you don't feel comfortable using God, energy, universe, source, maybe you just have to like refer to that energy as I
Yeah,
instead. So it kind of helps you navigate, I guess, the verbiage of it. But it's really
yeah,
important, I think, to have that connection, or at least explore that connection, because it's so profound. And once you feel that essence of love, you will never forget it. Like you
exactly.
felt it and you're like, this is what it's like. Like, we always
It's
are expecting
incredible.
the worst, but you feel this essence of love and you're like, wow, that's what, like, this is why we're all here. That's our only purpose in real, like, in my opinion, isn't our job, the money, this and that. It's really the
No,
purpose is like, how can we connect to love? How can we receive
exactly.
and how can we give love?
Exactly, 100%. That's always like the common theme after my trail and my journey, because some journeys I go through,
Hmm.
like the last one before this one, was very heavy, and it was still almost every end of the message of the journey was like love.
Yep.
Boils down to love. It boils down
Yeah.
to, are you giving love? Are you being loved? Are you receiving love? Are you loving
Yeah.
yourself? Are you loving? And like very, very simple, profound to me. It was like Jesus came to me in one of my journeys, and it was like he's the one that said, I've always been here. It's about I'm just and the embodiment of love, not judgment or nothing. And I was like, oh my God, he's always been there, and that was his message. But the church goes around and corrupts it and like
Yeah.
demonizes you if you're a thing. And it's like it's just love. Like love is the most absolute powerful technology in time and space itself. Like I believe that God itself is love, but
Yeah.
that's like the highest frequency vibration. It's like, oh my God, if people would only be able to even taste it, and that's what's happening in the world. There's a lack of love, and the system and the matrix promotes the lack of love. It's all division, race, class, whatever. You're this or that, division, and
Yeah.
and the medicine goes in there and just dismantles the programming. It's like the essence is just love,
Yeah. It's,
you
and
know?
yoga translates to union. So it's just kind of,
Sorry.
I was just saying that yoga is union. So you're talking about this division, and the whole purpose of the yoga philosophy, or just the essence of yoga, is that it's the connection between each other.
Exactly.
And like, even when, if you choose to, as a yoga teacher, say namaste, it's like that's just saying like the light in you is the light in me. You're seeing each other as
Seeing
one.
each
Like
other.
we're
Yeah,
all just one. And it's like what you're mentioning about just walking around in this matrix. It's like we're almost carrying like a computer virus and walking around and thinking it's
we
normal,
are.
or
We are.
malfunctioning every day. And then that, like, the medicine is love. Like no matter what you choose in this world, whether you go down that journey or you choose another modality for healing, the answer is probably going to be more love for yourself,
Absolutely.
for
Like
others. Yeah.
if you watch the movie The Matrix, like really
Yeah.
watch it, you'll understand that movie is about Neo being Jesus.
Mm,
And what brought Neo back from the brink of death was the love that he had for Trinity and the love that Trinity had for Neo. It was love that gave him the spark of life that transformed him into the Neo. It was the
mm,
love that woke him up from death. It was the love. Like no matter what happened with the Sentinels and the machines or whether the Matrix, it was the love that was more powerful than abundant than anything.
yeah. Wow.
It
I
was
have to
more
rewatch it.
powerful. You,
Yeah.
like you have to rewatch it again to really
Yeah.
grasp it, like really watch it and say, oh my God. Because the essence is that him and Trinity, that love was more powerful than anything. That's what awakened his heart. And for
Mm,
him to break the code in the matrix, it was like he was in his divinity. He was basically Jesus saying, oh, this whatever, it's like nothing. I have love. I have unconditional love. Nothing can phase me. That's how part like right now I'm
Yeah.
getting goosebumps even talking about it. Because
Yeah.
even back then when I saw that movie, I was like, man, there's something about this movie that really got me. And it was about the programs and the matrix and whatever, but it was love at the end of the day that saved everything.
I mean, that's I have to rewatch it, but now that I'm thinking about it, I was like, "Wait, yeah."
You
So
like you have to
true.
rewatch it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And I guess, to kind of wrap everything up, we're speaking a lot about love and divinity. It's like, what would you want anyone that's listening or anyone in your community that may want to follow you or learn more about you? What message would you want to bring to them besides just like, of course, the gift of love and all the great things that we're mentioning? Is there anything that you would want to leave them with, or is there advice you've ever received that you would like to pass on?
I would say to, I mean, of course I'm going to say it's love, but
Yeah, of course.
to forgive yourself and forgive others.
Hmm.
Of course, what I do with Cyber Yoga, but I feel like it was a gift from God to just, remind you. It's not through the church, but through my practice. I'm just a vessel being used to remind
Yes.
you how powerful that we are and to honor the mind, body, and spirit. So the Cyber Yoga, discipline, obviously, the movement and all that, but the mind, body, and spirit and like unison. But really, just the focal point message is um, forgiving yourself and forgiving others and walking into being loved. That's it. Like,
That's
for
beautiful.
me, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Because right now the
That's
world is in so much of chaos right now, and I know it's their agenda, and I know it's part of the duality and the contract of being here.
mhm.
But ultimately, this is why we're here to to
Yes.
to be the examples of love, and God gives us gifts to inspire. And I know in this timeline right now, I'm here to spread the message of love and be the embodiment of love. So focus on love, forgiving yourself and forgiving others.
Do you think those steps are very vital before you even get into a movement practice that works for you? Because everyone's going to choose different things, of course. Not everyone's going to choose yoga or
Everyone's
dance or,
path is different. Yeah,
everyone's going to have a different practice or a devotion that they feel best in their bodies. But do you think that maybe a good step is reflecting on forgiving themselves and forgiving others and then finding a form that helps them move that energy out their bodies?
true. I mean, I would say, maybe to rephrase it, maybe I did have reference points of love because I love to dance enough to practice it. So
Yeah.
I was like compartmentalizing my mind and my practice. I was like, oh, well, I like this, but I actually loved it so much that no one was paying me. I would walk to practice, walk to work, walk to practice.
Hmm.
No one paid me to do it, but then it ended up paying off for me years later. So I loved it. So I would say follow your positive passions as well, not a negative one. Follow your
Yeah.
positive passions. Follow that because that's the love you have for it. Like no one's
Yeah.
you just love it so much. And I love breaking, I love acrobatics, I loved it so much that it gave back to me and like by me investing into those practices and invested back into myself to show
Yeah.
me you did this with love. So let me just remind you why you did it and let me show you the reason. And so now it was like all the love, but I didn't have the lens or the capacity to receive it at the time.
You didn't have that, like the container I mentioned, you couldn't hold it
Correct.
at that time. I think it's
Correct.
also important to note it's like sometimes we are, especially for me, I'm a yoga teacher and that's the path I'm on. So I'm giving this as my experience, my example, is that sometimes in yoga we have to be of service. But something that I would also like to maybe instill is that you can be of service and not expect anything back in return. Not saying you won't get a lot out of it. You actually will
Yeah.
get like so much, and it may be down the line or maybe whatever it might be, but being of service will never fail you. I think
Yeah.
sometimes we think, what am I getting out of it? Well, I need something tangible, and all those things are valid. We have to live, we have to eat. I understand, don't be a starving artist as
Yeah.
Julian Cameron would say in the artist way, but I think you can still be of service and not expect anything in return. It's just being in that divinity and you're like, I know God, Jesus, source, whatever higher
Yeah.
power is going to lead me. So I don't need to worry. I can be of service and
Absolutely.
not expect anything in return. And it's like I said, I think you get more out of it when you have no expectations because you're doing it
Absolutely.
from a place of love and you're doing it from a place of like, I want to not only serve myself, but I'm serving the highest good of all. Or that's how I view
Absolutely.
it when I do maybe free things for yoga, or I'm, spending my time or whatever it is. It's like I don't expect anything out of it. And if I do,
Yeah,
that's just a cherry on the cake, like I'm like, oh wow, what a miracle today. What a
absolutely.
blessing.
It's so funny that you say it because this is exactly how I land with it because you can't lie to yourself and the frequency has to be genuine because when you're in your genuine frequency, that's what you're gonna get. So what I
Definitely.
learned is like, and what I heard today is like, what you give is what you get. So if you're
Yes.
really in that vibration of love and frequency, it's gonna come back to you by like cosmic, natural, scientific law. It's gonna come back to you.
Hmm.
So like you have to be genuine in your service towards humanity, towards others, service to others without no kind of expectation. And when you're in that vibration, that frequency, it's gonna come back to you in many spectrums, whether it's financial or opportunity
Hmm.
or just the love you get from that person, them being grateful to you. So
Yes.
you're always gonna get something back when you're in your genuine space. So
100%.
yes, so I land with you 1,000%, and this is awesome.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap up? I just want to make sure I'm respecting just your
No,
evening and
no,
all the
no,
things.
it's good. No, it's
We could
good.
probably talk for another hour. So I was like, be
Oh,
mindful,
we
be
could. I
mindful.
mean, we could we
Part
could
two. No.
we could do a part two about
Yeah.
deeper aspects of it. I mean, I could go for
Yeah.
days and I'm
Yeah.
open, but I would say I'm just, grateful for this conversation, this dialogue. Thank you so much, for taking your time out. Thank you for
Yeah.
I forgot her name, Izzy too, to have this.
Izzy. Yeah. Thank you,
And
Izzy, for introducing us.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
all alignment and I'm just grateful to share this message to people that's gonna it'll show up for someone when they're ready to receive it and
Yes.
show that there is love, there is divinity, there is God. It's like we always have an option to do what's right. Of course, living this matrix is hard, but we can always choose to focus on the love more than what's uh more love, less fear.
Yes. Always choose love over fear.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, thanks everyone for tuning in. My name is Trish again. I am founder of Yule Glow Wellness, and I am an alumni at Mount. Oh my God, I almost said my college. I was like, that was wow. At Meditation University. Yeah, and if you're interested in learning more, there's so many beautiful people in the community that you can learn from, grow from, and also share your passions and love with everyone. So thank you so much.
Trish, thank you so much.